And we're live! Just like that. Straight T. Little shout out, a little early. A minute. Y'all just talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to survey the camera. See if I can modify the lighting a little bit. I appreciate it, Brett. Oh, man. Let's see here. Probably shouldn't put too much light on myself. Probably get the fan going. Ooh, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh, what are we doing? People. What's happening? Y'all still there? I click over this other window. My camera's still on? Is this thing on? What's happening over at the Hippocommune? Huh. Well, you looky there. Why, yes. Yes, it is. Still me. I should say something. Huh? What? What do you say? No. Nolans. So what's all the fuss about? Go give a little shout out. My buddy Stenhammer. Oh, don't hurt on Hammer. See that sudden burst of gravity? Latency, my friend. Give a damn hammer. Don't drink that beer, Bubba. That's your breakfast. So, my buddy Robert Stenhammer. This episode of Storytime with Uncle Goat is brought to you by Robert Stenhammer, Telluride, Colorado. What a great name, Stenhammer. It's like a machine gun and a good handy tool all in one. Stenhammer. 9mm. Stenhammer. Yeah, he's a real estate agent. Telluride, Colorado. That's right, I know people. Some of them like me. That's right. I have a face for radio. Robert Stenhammer. Tap, tap, tap. Stenhammer. Hammer time. Got my balloon pants on. So, entertainment, employment. One, Two, Give me a shout out. How am I looking? Am I loud and clear? Too damn loud? We met. Is the sound crackling? What's happening? What's cracking lacking? This would be me messing with my microphone. Riveting television, I'm sure. Blow that chat up. Tell me about it. What's on your mind? It's a well balanced hammer, really. It's awesome. The cute little hammer. Tiny little hammer. Look at that. A man paws, give you an idea. Yeah, it's a nick on my finger. Yeah, don't play with knives. Yeah. That might be a paper cut, actually. It's a big piece of paper. Yeah, give you an idea how big it is. I'm like the makeup artist channel. See? Make sure I can get the camera to focus. Get my lighting just right. Wow. There we go. See how the thread in the handle brings out the rosy highlights in my nose? That's great. But I think it may have started life as a 4-ounce hammer. It's probably about 50 years old. 3 ounces. You know, little blacksmith hobbying. Um, although this is really, this is more like a jeweler's hammer. Your mileage may vary. Oh, painting. Yeah, thanks. I don't get distracted very often. So this one is, we'll just entitle it Snowy Owl. Tripod a little better here. No one, pay attention to the man behind the curtain. What? I bump that with my chairs, it go wind up on my head. Could happen. I'm getting a lot of glare. Not bad. How bad is it? Eh. Ah. One of the problems with getting old is, I tell you, appreciate this. Would be, appreciate. Tell you will appreciate this. Brian DeFabo. Oops, I used a real name. All right, so I mean, what's not to love? But Brett. So as you get old, it's not so much that you lose muscle fiber, right? Light kind of shining my ass. Name and number. All right, so you want name and number. All right, is that insensitive? All right. So as you get old, it's not that your muscles aren't like you're not capable of the same strength. It's similar to the pistons on a excavator. Some of you rednecks call it a backhoe. That's another thing you find them in Brownsville. So backhoe. She's a front hoe too. So should not be allowed in public. All right, so with the excavator, all right, it's like yeah, she reaches out. It's got like a shoulder joint, elbow joint, a wrist joint, right? So it scoops, right? Rotates, swing house on the big ones. Yeah. Some were double jointed. Some will just have a raise and lower. Some actually can rotate from the anyway. So as it ages, the excavator, um, the hydraulic pistons, the muscle, pretty much fires about as good as it does brand new. Actually, when it's brand new, there's like a wear in time before you get the maximum. Uh, you have to wear off some of the rough edges, literally. Um, get the maximum pump in those hydraulic cylinders. Well, it's similar with the muscles. New muscle development is great, but actually, after anyway, Mr. Biology, sorry, I just scienced the shit out of that. I'm mumbling. All right, so Lord, I apologize. So the muscles are working. New muscle fiber does not respond as fast or as strongly as the muscle fiber that's been there a while. Uh, there's all sorts of stuff. The sheath around the muscle fiber is more robust, uh, less injury, better hydrated, all sorts of things. So you build new muscle, and each individual muscle fiber, like you may get tears within that fiber. The muscle heals, it grows bigger. That's great. Now you have more muscle fiber in that bundle. Each fiber will be thicker. So you build muscle. Right. So the muscles are as strong. I mean, if you got a pound of muscle on your tricep, you can, whip it out there just as well as a 18-year-old with the same amount of muscle. The difference is the joints wear. Just like with an excavator, you get an old excavator, the joints get sloppy. You have to pump lube in there to keep them pressurized to a certain point, but the lube squeezes out because there's play in every joint. So you're just as strong, but the accuracy of the movements is not as fine, or at least it would appear to be not as fine. The thing is, with experience, with the right operator in the cab, you can learn the dance of those loose joints, and you can ride the wave. I'm just saying, I mean, if you know what you're doing, it makes up for your joints not being as tight. You know, not bragging or anything, just explaining facts. That's all. Let me explain something to you. If I were a pulp novelist, I'd be Mickey Splain. Let me mansplain something to you. Apparently, that's a thing. Supposedly, it's a bad thing. I don't know. See, when I grew up, mansplaining was like when the feller that run the household, it's about to whoop your ass. Mansplaining is when he grabbed you by the throat and said, "Let me tell you something, boy." Give you a little shake, make sure that man had your attention. That's what mansplaining was. And okay, pay attention when I talk to you, boy. Backhand right upside your head. Whack. The people we got here. 14. We're waiting. All right. Some comments. Oh, yeah, I do my own stunts. Look out! Here he comes! Make a hole, make it wide, make it deep. Sometimes has a hard time stopping. All right, so entertainment. You found this show entertaining or ignorant, forward your checks and money orders too. So, employment. Are you gainfully employed? Well, I mean, I'm working at something. I mean, so you might be able to see over here right out there on the wall is my sales tax license for the state of Pennsylvania. I posted that on Instagram today, by the way. Yeah, my art is doing all right. I mean, my paintings sell. I do murals. I mean, if you know me, you know that. I've seen some of my work, perhaps. Some of you may have seen some of my work and didn't realize it was mine. I've done some outdoor things. I painted the little murals of the cars on Pit Stop 56 back almost 12 years ago now. Ooh, crazy how time flies. Crazy. Man, has it been that long? No way. Let's do the time on it. Wow. Ho, 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 ho. Been a dozen years since that project got off the ground. Wow. So yeah, so I did the sprint cars, kind of a some would say cartoonish rendition. I do not take as an insult. Um, of Barry and JD's sprint cars. Shout out, Conductor Jigger. You the man. You knew that. One of the fellers around it's about as smart as I am, but more humble. So I have stories. That's my JD impression. He'll do that for about 5 minutes before he says something sometimes. Barry does a different kind of vibrate. He can't help it. He's born that way, and then a Hungarian and Polish tribe beat him for, well, they probably still beat him. He just lucky they stop beating him every now and then. Oh, you know it's the truth because I'm too stupid to be making this shit up. They're not evil. They're just stupid. Oh, 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 man. Should not be allowed in public some days. It's a good day. Good day. So, my pitch is a reality show about a podcast. T-Modcast. This painting here might be part of our logo. We'll see. You'll see here in a second. So this is Black Hole Eyes. One of the first podcasts I put any thought into. Yeah. Inspired partially by Sid Barrett. If you don't know who Sid Barrett is, talk to Tom. No, I can talk to Tom. But yeah, Pink Floyd. Which one's pink? Did I put it up the wrong way? There's no wrong way. It's an abstract. Relax. Yeah, Black Hole Eyes, Sid Barrett. So the reality show about a podcast is I go around, probably the crew of three, maybe four. Certainly at least two, but maybe not. I'm sure I'll do some interviews impromptu on my own, just my phone, and hey, remember me? Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, so I do a podcast. Let me talk to you for a second. I don't know if you're interested. Hit record. Do you mind if I record you? Something like that. It's going to take me a second. And boom. All right. So, I mean, that much. We start with some cell phone video at the worst. And I'm not the worst cinematographer on my own, but I'm not awesome. Hey, I fed this back right. I can make like that. Yeah. The Doctor Who effect. Oh, if you didn't think I was a geek already. All right. So, thank you very much, Robert Stenhammer of Telluride, Colorado. Well, there's my introduction. The first, 17 minutes? What? Robert Stenheimer. I'm sorry. Stenhammer. Hammer. Stenhammer, Telluride, Colorado. I will give you his phone number. It is 970. This is for his real estate office. 970-708-7771. That is 970-708-7771. Robert Stenhammers, good feller. I haven't worked out exactly what sort of, if any, compensation we're going to have happen for this shout out. But hey, he's my, you know, I like it. We haven't met, but after a couple of hours of talking with a guy and wasting his time, I feel like I know him a little bit. And it won't be a waste of time on my world tour here, the other part. So I'll go around and interview folks. Hey, how's it going? So yeah, so my podcast. You want to do a little talking turkey? Huh? I don't understand. So I'm doing a podcast, and I'm looking for interesting people to talk to on my podcast. And you're interesting. How'd you like to sit down with me for, I don't know, a little while? Even 10 minutes would be awesome. 5 minutes, fine. But I mean, if you want to do an hour, if you have the material, I'd, I'd love to talk to you. And I'm pretty easy to talk to. Uh, I know how to talk to all sorts of people. And here again, if you know me, you know that to be true. So, is this a fundraiser? Well, not exactly. This is a pitch. But it's just about, hey, what's that Chris up to nowadays? That goat, the goat farmer, goat. What's happening? Well, I'm doing my art, sell my art, which, that certainly can be part of this. I, no doubt, talk with folks in the art community. Um, this painting behind me, I'm donating this to the ACCA. So my little, that's in West Virginia, Appalachian, what is it? Avian Conservancy Cooperative of Appalachia, or the Appalachia Conservancy Cooperative Avian, I don't know, whatever. ACCAWV on Instagram. Uh, ACCA, you can find them on Facebook. Good folks. They rehab injured birds, sick and injured birds, and the ones they can, they release back into the wild. This painting here is one I'm going to donate for an auction. The date hasn't been set yet. They're definitely doing something this spring, maybe early summer, probably end of the semester kind of stuff. May into April. We'll see. I'd like to see if we can do it around Earth Day. That'd be awesome. But somewhere in there, 422, I think, is Earth Day. 420, 422, somewhere in there. So go around and interview folks. Even if they decline, you say, well, thanks for your time. Thanks for letting me videotape you. And, get permission to videotape them. Hey, this doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have to go anywhere. And share revenues with the folks I have on. It's pretty simple. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated. It's not going to necessarily be easy. Then go around tour the country here. I'm going to try to do something for my birthday here, March 13th, 2019. I will be 9 years old, 8 years old. Uh, so for 3 decades now, I will have been an adult. Anybody remember my 40th birthday party? I kind of did. No, I do. It was a good time. Um, man, great. White House cherry ice cream. That's the vanilla ice cream with the little hunks of like the maraschino cherries in it. That's what I'm talking about. It was a good day. Everybody in that room I would interview. Um, Interesting stuff in that showed up. my friends. So anyway, I would do some in the some interviews in the dumpster fire waiting to happen. That's my little studio apartment here for my business activities at Cal U, Little California, California University of Pennsylvania, Vulcans, go Vulcans. So yeah, that's where we're at. Pitch the show for streaming service, Netflix, obviously, Amazon, perhaps. Um, so we have a reality show about making a podcast, where I go around and talk to people off the cuff, as it were, man on the street stuff. So how's it going? I'm Chris Neely, also known as Goat. You know me? Yeah, you do. How's it going, man? So, my podcast, my story time with Uncle Goat on YouTube. Yeah, yeah. You see my team podcast? All right. Yeah. You're one of my followers on Instagram. Yeah. It was at a high of 1,400. I'm still over 1,000 for like 4.5, 5 months now. Yeah, yeah. I think there was like a couple of days there where it hit 1,500, but it just like people come and go. Yeah. The Miranda Lambert fan club, her market director, and the supervisor of the fan club. That was kind of neat. That happened last week. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. One of the professors bought one of my paintings. Yeah. So I mean, like the whole uh, Acacia fraternity, when their float went by at the homecoming parade. I did not have video going. God, I wish I did. But I was just taking still pictures. An epic moment. But they're witnesses. So, but when their float went by and they saw me, they all 25 of them yelled out, "Goat!" So yeah, I am known in this town. So yeah, lots of very intelligent, motivated young folks around here that they're doing all right. I mean, it, you know, I mean, you were 20 once, right? 22 once, 25 once. I mean, how much did you screw up? Sure, but there are a lot that don't screw up much, and also have good heads on their shoulders. They're young. I used to be young. I'm in my prime now, boy. Oh, my back just popped. Oh, I'm in my prime. Yeah, so me finding people to talk to is not an issue. And then sit down and do actual interviews with folks. Place of choice. I've got some options here, close by, very close by, under a mile. Several options, uh, both public and private. So yeah, good stuff. Um, I I have no obstacles at this point. Um, Now, is this a good career move? Probably not. But a couple of my professors would sit down with me for an hour. I mean, on camera for an hour, and sit down with me for longer than that. Some of them crack open a beer. I'm not enrolled right now, so I guess I should say former professors. Well, I'd like to enroll this semester again, but I don't know if I can pull it off. We'll see. It's part of the project. I'd like to at least take one of the biology classes, one of the art classes. But anyway, side story. Rabbit trail. Hunt 'em up. Kill the wabbit, kill the wabbit. Or Aussie Fudd. I gotta find that for you. So anyway, yeah. So that's more or less the pitch. Storytime with Uncle Goat would be the name of the reality show. T Modcast would be the podcast proper. That's TMOD. There's probably a card here somewhere. Um, and Storytime, part of the reality show will just me be sitting down in whatever shape I am, turn to, off the cuff. Just, you want to hear a live stream? Well, maybe you don't. Let me turn the filter off. When I hear it, here it goes. What a lot of people don't understand is 95% of the stuff they've heard me say was with my filter off. Oh, with my filter on. Like they thought my filter was off. Rewind. Go to Scooby Doo. Remember when? So, I mean, if you hang with that, you will love my reality show. Scooby Doo effect. No string kids. We would have got away with it. We went for those bastard kids. Hey, Scoop, want to get a shooter like? Roll, roll, Shaggy. It wasn't a wasted youth after all. So, the pitch. So, I'm going to do a reality show about my podcast. Chaos ensues. There you go. There's my pitch. Moving on. Man. All right. So, how do I do that? Where'd the chat go here? Oh, man. What is that tiny print? Oh. It's hell to get old, but dying young sucks worse. Oh, shout out my brothers. Let me pour one out for my dead homies. Oh, yeah. Next on the list. Trademarks. So, these are not career making decisions. These are the sorts of things you do. You're like, well, probably not, but how much longer have I got, really? Well, so I'll be a pariah for another 25 years. I mean, if I'm an optimist. I mean, what's going to change, really? What? What? I'm going to alienate myself for some relatives and friends? That's never happened. I mean, some of my relatives and friends have pretty much assumed some things that they found out later to be true. I mean, I've been goofy for a long time. I mean, there's probably a genetic switch somewhere. It was probably unavoidable at the DNA level. And then I broke a couple of key circuits and said, don't say that. I mean, like, I never had the suffer fools gladly gene to start with. Shout out to Uncle Dave. I should text him now. So, Dave, remember what I told you? uh, oh, Lord, I got 11 text messages response. Oh, like I said, oh, what's real funny is I know you've done this. Like, oh, hey, how's it going? I didn't mean to call you. I was just trying to text. Ah. Oops. So, some of you know this, some of you don't. So, here we go. Some of you know my history. So, I medicate myself. I'm under doctor supervision. We have medical marijuana in this state. And, yeah, it helps a lot. I have got a lot going on. You know, spinal fusion. I've got multiple bulging vertebrae, and I don't mean bulging discs. I have those too. It's called a vertebral hemangioma. Google that. He-Man, like Masters of the Universe, Castle Grayskull. I'm the Master of Grayskull. Yeah. He-Man Gioma, vertebrae, vertebral, He-Man GI, like GI tract, OMA. Oh my. Vertebral hemangiomas. That's when the bone itself is swollen and engorged with blood. Uh, Makes it more likely to fracture. So I have to be careful with that. I have two of those. And I've had spinal fusion surgery, and they hurt, by the way. You heard of the network of nerves? Well, it is a net. So, like so. And when those expand, that net expands. On the outside, it's the periosteum network fibers and interwoven with those fibers. Periosteum is a layer around the outside of your bone. Peri means on top of, and is that Latin? Is that Greek? Anyway, peri on top of, upon, onto, peri. Osteum, osteoporosis, osteo bone. All right. So periosteum, that's the coating around the bone. Yeah. So when the bone expands, that network expands, and I know it. It is a unique sensation, like someone has driven a red hot railroad spike in the middle of your spine. You know when it happens. You are not unaware. So I got that times two. Like 7 bulging discs. Yeah, 9. Yeah, so they removed well, they didn't remove anything. It was gone. They replaced the disintegrated disc in my neck and C6, C7. And then they removed 2 separate surgeries. Like, what is it, 10 years apart? Whatever, 12 years apart. 9 years apart. I don't know. Seems like it never ends, so time doesn't matter. So yeah, then I had spinal fusion in my lumbar spine, and I had so there's four screws that go in on these two separate vertebrae. So they fuse these two vertebrae together, and they spackle in a bunch of bone compounds. They cut off parts of the bone that are there. They remove any there wasn't any here again. There wasn't any disc left, just a little bit of scar tissue, and they remove whatever's in between them, and they cut off some of the attachment points from the muscles, cut off the bone, grind that bone up, mix it with beeswax, and then artificial bone, which is a lot like plaster of Paris. It's a same calcium phosphorus mix as your bone is, and a little bit of water, beeswax. Basically, they plaster that in there. I did not get the cadaver bone. I got the synthetic bone, which I'm proud of that. I'm like, hey, because you know, I know a thing or two about biology, so I don't like the cadaver bone stuff because I don't know what that guy had. And there are protozoa and things that we're not so sure we can kill them. Mad cow disease, the prions. Don't get me started. All right, so Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease. Look that up. Yeah. So I don't want anything that's been in somebody else's spinal fluid. Nope. Or actually in their body at all, to tell you the truth. Now, if I'm going to die anyway, I mean, if my liver's gone, my heart's gone, whatever part of my brain stem's missing, then yeah, okay, I'll take the donation. But if I can get by without it, so basically you get rapid onset Alzheimer's, is what it amounts to. You get spongiform encephalopathy. That's what mad cow is. BSE, bovine spongiform encephalopathy. Spongiform meaning it looks like a sponge, the big holes in your brain. Not nice. Prion converts proteins into prions. It replicates itself by destroying the proteins in your brain, actually within your spinal fluid and your brain, so that even the nerves that aren't affected, your spinal fluid itself is affected. So you go freaking bonkers! Rapid onset dementia. Rapid, like a week. Yeah. Once it happens in a hurry. No, thank you. So, I had this bone graft spackled in, about a kilogram worth. It's a lot. So, those of you who don't know, just before I went under, the anesthesiologist comes in. My doctor leans over me. Ken DeBarrow's a decent guy, a little arrogant, but I mean, he is a magician. So he leans over and he says, "Oh, I have good news. You actually are big boned, turns out. So we mic'd your bones and we can use the larger appliance. Well, the largest appliance actually that we have that's not custom made. Uh, so that means fewer screw holes in your bones. So that's good. Like, great, Doc. That's good to know. Thanks, I think. So how long am I going to be under? Probably about 5 hours. 4.5 anyway, but probably 5. You're larger. It takes a lot of actual muscle to pull the bones apart and all that. So you can't do this with a local, huh? Sorry. It's a good dude. I recommend it. One of those four screws, the one on the bottom left, uh, I've got a wiggle. The screw moves within the bone. I'll give you all a second to think about that. Some of you are going to go, oh my God! Yeah, it really sucks some days. So that screw wiggles in the bone, I move a certain way. The worst is if you compress the spine. If you like come downstairs hard, you hurry down the stairs and you hit the bottom, or if you jump off a wall, like a knee wall, a short wall, and then your spine compresses that little screw. Sting. It's not little. It's about the length of my pinky. No joke. Like the the screws are like 2 and 5/8 inches long. So 2.5, 2 and 5/8. So in metric, so I thought they're 7 centimeters. Uh huh. Sucks. Now, not all of that is in the bone, but that's how long they are. So they're like screws you'd use on your deck to put down the treads. Like the treads are 1 1/4 inch. So you go into the tread. Well, you want to have it at least 1/8 of an inch, the head recessed in. So yeah, their heads recessed in, say 1/8 of an inch. So you want to grab it in. Yeah. And like the deck screws, the top, next to the head is not threaded, but the rest of it sure is. So yeah, I got a little ovalated hole around that screw, and it wiggles a little bit every now and then. That sucks a whole lot. I can feel the barometric changes as the weather changes, especially if there's a storm like headed east from Ohio. Yeah, so that's why I'm medically medicated with marijuana. Mostly I eat it, although I do occasionally smoke some when it gets really bad. Um, so that's where I'm at. Yeah, there are other drugs that help, but I mean, they're not. The side effects are, you know, not that bad. If of course, some people are. There are no side effects. It's all great. Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't want me operating heavy machinery around, a daycare center. Why was I? I mean, no, no, I would not. No, absolutely. But hey, it's not like I've done it every day for 20 or 30, 40 years or something. I mean, I don't know what. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that can operate just fine, way better than they would on alcohol. But whatever. I mean, I know a couple for sure. But they're not right without it. Man, why is he so grumpy? Well, all right. So, like I said, doctor approved. She's fine with it. We've got. So I eat it. Hey, it looks like broccoli anyway. A little cheese whiz on top. Little nuggets. You're not smoking something, so that helps on the healthcare front. But like I say, when it gets bad, it gets bad. Yeah, I mean, sure, SSRI, SRNI medications like gabapentin, Neurontin. Yeah, it helps some, but I mean, man, when the bones are swollen, I mean, opiates work, but you don't, you know, there are times that I have needed and will need opiates, like when it's really bad. I mean, post surgery, for example. When it just split my butt open, put some contraptions in. Yeah. Um, so this will be available on my on my YouTube channel. So one attack. Sorry. Um, so young lady does not have good service in her house. I don't have great service. Excuses, excuses. Oh man. So yeah. So I do smoke some weed every now and then. Not often. Not a lot. What was it? What was the guy's name that sold the OxyClean stuff? Billy Mays here for OxyClean. He used to say, well, he's dead now. Maybe he still says it. We just can't hear him. Uh, some of you can't hear. He used to say, I don't drink a lot, just often. If you do a shot a minute, that's often. It's only like rounds. No, neither a lot nor often. Um, so you're saying eating it? It's one of these kids. You eat your weed? That's crazy. Well, no, actually, it's not. And we, as a society, probably ate cannabis. So I don't want to sound like a hippie recruit now. Yeah, 400 cannabinoids. You know, it's a plant. I'm sure we ate that plant in antiquity and prehistory. Matter of fact, the history of marijuana, we don't, we have very little clue about its evolutionary past because it's so intertwined with people. We can't tell you what part of the world it originated in because it's so intertwined with human beings that India, China, you know, it's in a lot of places. A lot of places. Way back, thousands and thousands of years before cuneiform. Yeah. So, what's the point, eh? Well, part of it is I make these. I mean, like I said, don't smoke often, but I'm prepared. So these spleefs, which are I don't know, 10% tobacco. I don't smoke anything on this channel or anything, so I don't. I won't do anything illegal. Uh, you know, community guidelines and all that. I will perhaps age restrict some of this stuff. So my, the thing is, I mean, we got it's just another tool in the toolbox. You ever broken a bone? I have couple on my nose, a couple on my face, suborbital complex, cheekbone, hairline fracture, a couple of ribs, cracked skull. You know, impact. That sucks a lot. The ribs thing, every breath. I mean, even the shallow ones. Sucks. I mean, broken ribs. Two of them. There's a story. Roll out of bed, fell in a soup can. Now he's a stockbroker. That's how the story used to go. I haven't been a stockbroker since October 29, 2001. 9/11 kicked my butt. No doubt. I mean, I was ill anyway. I could not go on. Yeah, had my gallbladder out. That was good times. So I roll a spleef, a little bit of tobacco, a little bit of parsley in there. I do a tuck roll on the end there. A roll crimp. Looks like the end of a shotgun shell. The right angle looks like a heart in there. But. So the way I always do it, it's 5-sided. Shout out to the Pentagon. 5 pleats. Actually, it's 5-sided on the outside, and there are 4 pleats visible on the inside. There are actually 5 pleats, but only 4 visible. Hey, I'm an artist. I'm a sculptor. A sculptor. I'm a sculptor as well. Body like Adonis after he let himself go. After he let himself go to a buffet, a Chinese buffet. I got a good one about that one too. So anyway, man, it looks like a shotgun shell. You know what that is? I'm like 4 and 5, 420. Oh, it's a 420 gauge. Ah! Googled it. I guess you wouldn't write with a pen. Fat fingers. Oh, yep, 420 gauge. I'm trademarking it. Copyright. Dropping a hammer on it. It's mine. 420 gauge with an exclamation point. On display. Trademark. Copyright. .420 gauge. GAUGE. That's right. Heard it here first, folks. I'd like to start up my own streaming service. Call it Hookah Hoop. Trademark. I just interchange with my mental self. The dynamic duo. Hulu, holy hookah hoops, fat man. I think we're on to something. What do you mean, we? Throbbing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Fat man and throbbing. Yep. Yep. So that's my impression of the West Virginia auction. I'm auctioning off my painting. So I don't know if you can see it. You think perhaps? Don't mind the garbage in the background. So I do some sculpture as well as some other things, and right here, let's give my baton pointer, shall we? You hear that? Don't you? That's what I got from teachers, like in middle school. Don't you? Footprints. Some of my later editions. Some of you, I'm sure, have seen some of this on Facebook. A little trail going back to the woods. Updated some of the shadow. Just a little bit of tweaking, working on the road. This is at that West Virginia, uh, that awful clay you find when you dig down just a little bit. You find in like Greene County, parts of Washington, parts of Fayette. My buddy, shout out to Rick. Green County Gold, he calls it. It's that slimy, disgusting blue green mud. It's got just a little bit of flakes of red. It comes up to the surface. I don't know if that's like a copper alloy, if it's just like all the red dog that's been dumped over the centuries. Anyway, yeah. So, like I said, we're going to auction that off for the ACCA West Virginia. They're associated. They have some doctors that work, some vets. They have some PhD doctors as well that work. They have double doctors that work rehabbing the birds and releasing them back into the wild. They work with some wildlife biologists, West Virginia's Department of Natural Resources. Some of the birds are injured or ill beyond the ability to go back into the wild. So they take these animals around and teach children about raptors and songbirds. And there's a little gnat flying around. Do you see that? It went in for a dive bomb, I think, on my ear. It's fun with the Doppler effect. So, rabbit trail. All right. So the birds they can't. Well, some that they do release, but the birds that they can't release, they use. They keep them comfortable and house them well and feed them well and take care of them and they take them around and educate folks, kids and adults, by the way. Like they'll come out to your place of business. You know, they're going to ask for a donation, which you should help them out if you can. I mean, they do. They're doing some good work. Not the least of which is they're getting a lot more young people out into nature, looking at some of this stuff and understanding it. Yeah, good stuff all around. Some of the vets over at Cheat Lake Animal Hospital help out quite a bit there, and they are fantastic. Really, just good people. Good people to go doing good stuff. They have some park rangers that help out. Like the Department of Natural Resources, anyway. Like the Game Commission guys and the like state park ranger, West Virginia State Park Rangers. Good stuff. Good stuff. It's like a 45-minute, well, a 40-mile drive. Your mileage may vary. About a 40-mile drive from here. 45 minutes. It goes to crow flies. A crow can fly that fast. Dive. Right. So this is a snowy owl. I'm also doing. I'm going to do a pheasant. I'm going to do a big one of the pheasant. Uh, Probably going to dedicate it to my buddy Bill Baylog. For those of you who don't know, Bill had a stroke, I guess, here a little over a month ago. He's doing okay. Yes. Need to sit down and talk with him for real and get caught up. I got a new rabbit hunting joke for him. You don't even know. I mean, we've laughed so hard, like we had to leave the room. So I added a little trail here. Might be a rabbit trail in here somewhere. You better watch out for this snowy owl. So if you see a bird of prey, don't shoot it. All right. One other thing I'm saying, don't. I mean, shoot a grouse or a dove. They can be pestilence on livestock. I mean, on crops. Go by the law. You know, don't be shooting no red-tailed hawk or vulture for that matter. They all have a good purpose. You say, oh, they kill rabbits. I'm like, you know what? You want to take out something that kills rabbits? Shoot a coyote. Okay, I'm all right with that. Now that is a predator that is a little out of hand around, right? Because they also they eat dogs, cats, squirrels, squirrel babies. Uh, they eat the eggs out of nests. I mean, they eat other predators that are balance out the ecosystem. They eat everything. Period. Their size and bigger and smaller. Yeah, and they're prolific and they're smart. Uh, yeah, don't shoot the birds. All right, that's what I'm saying. Please, please don't do that. It's wrong. Really. Uh, hey, I'm a hunter. Part like long time now. 40 years. I'd say. Yeah, 48 years old. March the 13th. I will be. Yoga says. Be sweet, kids. Be sweet. I'll see you in the chat room. Listen here. Good stuff. So I'm not doing this to get high. I'm doing this to get by. Is what I'm saying. Complete donation. Now, if they want it framed, I'm gonna have to need some money for that. So, I mean, I'm just gonna charge what it cost me. I'm not gonna charge my labor, but the auction is just the art, which I mean, that's a $350 piece of art, easy. Oil painting on wood. It's MDF, which much smaller size anyway. It's not canvas. Some people are like, oh, canvas is a bit. This is much more durable than canvas. If you know anybody that's ever had to repair a ripped canvas on this, it might be a little scratch if it falls against a nail. On a canvas, it'll be a nice big rip. Canvas is under tension. It's supposed to be that way. If it's not, that can cause problems too. And if you're transporting a canvas and as you move from one house to another, or just move a painting from one room to another, bump into something that has anything remotely like a point, the corner on a piece of furniture, that'll go right through a canvas. Now you've got a repair on your hands, and sometimes it's not repairable. I mean, yeah, okay, it's all repairable, but what's it going to look like after the repair? Uh, you can have paint that flakes off, and with with this, you bump up against a piece of furniture, uh, it may be quote damaged, but it's repairable. Unless you snap the whole dang thing in half, and that what are you doing, gorilla? I mean, have some common sense. But anyway, so yeah, so this is MDF. This is a medium density fiberboard. This is 1/8 inch MDF. It's known as sign painter's board. Some of you, I oil enamel prime it for oil paint. I do a different version for acrylics, but with acrylics you can just paint right on this. The linseed oil over time will react, and if there's not a sufficient barrier, uh, it will react with the solvent in the glues. Now that takes 20 years, but it will do it, and it can't even rot certain kinds of the wood fibers. Well, it doesn't really rot so much as it dissolves the lignin. Sorry, I guess I got into biology mode there again. All right, so anyway, I used 1/8 inch MDF. I can double that up. If I mean on a custom frame, I mean I'll do whatever you want. I mean I'll do. I mean, I'll buy you know an actual canvas And I do canvas. I have canvas on the wall here. I have no problem with it. I'm just telling you, I do this for a reason. It's not to save me money. It's actually more aggravating. Um, Time and anyway. Um, you can get a prime canvas and just start. I buy this in 4x8 sheets, although it's actually a little larger than 4 foot by 8 foot. I have to cut it down, sand it, you know, lather, rinse, repeat, and get it all primed up and ready to go, and then paint. So, uh, yeah, used to be called masonite. It hasn't been masonite in a very long time, like since 1974 or so. Masonite used to have a type of asbestos in it. Not good. So, yeah. This painting, I go for oil paints $1 to $1.50 a square inch, which is cheap compared to some of the other professional artists. And I am a professional artist. I'm not blowing smoke. Uh, I live in a free country, and I have the licenses and registrations to prove it. So this is like 30 by 19. Um, you do a 3 inch um, border on the sides and what does it come out to? A 2.5 inch border on the top and bottom. That gives you a nice presentation. If you want to do a mat, you know what I'm saying. Do a full mat. That'll give you 36 by 24, the finished product to frame. Um, but for the art itself is what I'm selling. So that's 30 by 19 is 570 square inches. So that's the kind of price I get retail uh, at the bottom. I mean, I'm telling you, and I know some of you think that's expensive. If you actually look at real art, uh, this in a gallery is $1,000 guaranteed, $2 a square inch guaranteed. Really, um, 1,200 for the raw art at any gallery that's worth its salt. I just, I'm not going to apologize too much. That's what it's worth now as a relative unknown. Uh, some of you don't believe that. That's fine. Some of you do. Some of you that know what you're looking at, you know that this is the real deal. In acrylic, my stuff probably tops out at $1.50 on acrylic per square inch. So, you know, I'll sell you some smaller stuff and stuff that the real small stuff like this is like $100. Um, this is what is it, 12 by 7.5, I think. Yeah, yeah. So we'll do $100. That is Wolf at the Blood Moon, by the way, is the title of that. So we can get a little light on it. Same size, a dragon. Just so you guys know what I have an inventory about right now. Dragons are pretty popular right now. Let's see where it's. Let's see. Bunny at the Oasis. Some of you have seen these on Facebook. I've added a little bit to this since, and of course, this camera is not great. But you get the idea. So I'm in real business. Neely Mural Painting and Fine Art. I'm registered with the state of Pennsylvania for my sales tax. Um, I'm gonna have my license prominently displayed. I'm gonna grab that for you. Hold on. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. I posted this on Instagram earlier, by the way. So, Instagram, Chris Neely, a.k.a. Goat. It's not a great look. All right. Let's back this up a little. Displayed. I am in despair. Displayed. I think I might still have a little bit of oil paint underneath my finger. That's right, baby. Legit. RIP earphone wearers. Oops. I guess I promised you a story, didn't I? Long, long time ago. Well, so since we're talking about my kicking off my world tour, so I'm gonna me and at least one other, probably a crew of four, um, probably be in two vehicles. We'll see. We're gonna tour around Pittsburgh, the greater Pittsburgh area. Like, then, well, I mean, we're gonna hang around Pittsburgh, 30 miles, and the goal is to be back down in Tennessee. I'm originally from around my birthday, so March 13th. That's also spring break for CalU, so maybe I'll get some of the little childrens around here to pass through, drop by on their way to somewhere else. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, do the grand tour. Um, I hope by the end of May, and I'll come back here. You know, mid March, like the 18th or so, March 18th, 19th, whatever. So I have my crew, and we'll go around working on the podcast, do some live streams, all sorts of fun and games. Probably do a couple of giveaways, my art. Um, Probably going to do another art auction in addition to the one we're going to do in West Virginia. Probably going to do another one. Uh, some thought about doing a little convention. I'd love to do a Saturday thing, especially if the weather's icky. Uh, get some of the daycare and school teachers I know and do a Saturday, Sunday session, or maybe even Friday afternoon, or all three. Do some art activities for kids. We'll say like 8 to 18, like 4-H age, that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, and adults as well. But I'm just saying that we got to bring we got to bring the next generation along. Music and art. I'd love to do art and blues festival. I'd like to make that an annual thing here in California and in Tennessee. Probably do one out in Colorado, and that's the other thing. Uh, in May, hopefully summer before May 20th, but we'll see. I'd love to do a live broadcast May the 4th from Telluride. That's what I'd like to do for Star Wars Day. I think that'd be awesome. May the 4th be with you. Have more horrible Chewbacca impressions. It'd be great. Do a live stream and a podcast. A few interviews, a few men on the street, and of undeterminate genetic orientation, human and otherwise. Oh yeah. And when I'm out there, I'm going to see my friend. Give him another shout out. Absolutely. Robert Stenhammer. Stenhammer. That's right. It's like a machine gun and a hand tool all in one. Stenhammer. Robert. I think he said sometimes when his wife's mad at him, she calls him Bob. So his professional name is Robert. All right. Robert Stenhammer. Telluride. Colorado. It's a good feller. Real estate agent, notwithstanding. I mean, hey, he's a salesman. You know, you'll be able to tell that. He's a good guy. You know, he's a good guy that happens to be a salesman. I mean, I'm not disparaging him. He's a salesperson. You know, that's how he makes his living. Good dude. You get a hold of him, I'll give you his phone number. His phone number is 970-708-7771. That's 970 area code 708-7771. That's his office number. It's a great feller. Like a great feller. It's like some kind of tagline. What kind of hillbilly? What kind of hilljack redneck? What in the Sam Hill? Good feller. You put your overalls on. Don't drink that beer, Bubba. That's your breakfast. So yeah, I'd like to get some property out there and work on. So I've got my biology thing going. Spend some money figuring out hydroponics, growing. No, I'm not growing marijuana. Don't ask. So many people. Nature provides. I do not. I am growing some sweet potatoes, and yeah, you can grow sweet potatoes in a hybrid system. I'll tell you about it. Anyway, hydroponics, aquaponics, which is using aquaculture, which is fish and plants grown hydroponically. Um, yeah. So I mean, I'm working on stuff. I'm figuring this out. Uh, I've got a pretty good handle on it. I mean, right now I've got some beautiful salad greens. Oh my god. Sweet potatoes are working pretty well. I grew some, and I'm doing a hybrid system where I do. I mean, if you know about it, it makes sense. If not, so I'm growing some stuff in water. I sprout some things like you can put a sweet potato in water and it will root. You can grow root vegetables in water. So I have a tank with rootstock floating, and then I water plants that are grown in soil with that water, which has a nutrient solution added, and it's pH balanced. It varies from about 6.5 to 7.5. Uh, I have algae, pardon me, algae and fungus culture, mycorrhiza and oyster mushroom and turkey tail mushroom fungus cultures within the water. And that helps. It has sap. I went into scientist mode, didn't I? So saprophytic fungi or fungi, they break down plant matter, vegetable, mineral, and animal matter. Actually, they break down everything, and they turn all sorts of things. You can use them for environmental cleanup. They can turn hydrocarbons like spilt oil, like used motor oil. They can turn hydrocarbons into carbohydrates directly into carbohydrates. No further step. Now the problem is if you feed them used motor oil from your crankcase, uh, you will have heavy metals that come in there. Now there are certain kinds of mushrooms that aggregate. heavy metals, and in their mycelium, like the mushrooms are just uh, fruiting bodies. The mycelium is the tree of the fungi, and fungi are actually closer to us animals than they are to plants. They breathe in oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. Plants are the other way around, although a lot of plants use oxygen in various ways. So, their little root like mycelium fibers, they take heavy metals from where their environment is. And if there's an environment that doesn't have heavy metals, uh, as they search out for water, at the end of these mycelium strands, they add on like one cell at a time every little cycle they go through, often corresponding with high and low tides, like twice a day in some cases, sometimes faster depending on nutrients. Anyway, so they add a cell on at the end of the mycelium strand, like every cycle, and they transport all sorts of things to that cell, that very end cell, including heavy metals and other minerals. The heavy metals, like they go out and if they find no water in the surrounding the cell, they will make that cell a dead end, calcify it, and they will take heavy metals and they'll put a cell off to each side of it and start branching around looking for water. Like say they're in hard rock, there's just this tiny little fissure, a couple microns across in hard rock, solid bedrock. They will go in there and there's no water, so that's a place where there's no place they can get resources that are liquid. If they bring liquid to there, they can dissolve the rock, and, you know, bring calcium, phosphorus, etc., whatever's there. So what they'll do is they'll take heavy metals. I say they like they're conscious, and who knows? They'll take heavy metals from this contaminated environment. They put them out in their fruiting bodies, which is not necessarily good if you want to eat the mushroom. Uh, but all plants, all animals do that. So mushrooms to a lesser degree. Over time, they migrate those heavy metals out into the end of this mycelium strand, and they will start a vein of ore in this rock. And it's amazing how pure it can be. And then they will eat the rock around it and move on. And so you'll have a little chunk of platinum or lead or iridium or cobalt. I mean, stuff that in Chernobyl, they found some amazing stuff with radioactive um, elements. Unbelievable. The ground contamination in Chernobyl is about 1/8 of what they thought it should be, and the reason is fungi, mycelium. So it goes deep down into a rock fissure, deposits uranium and thorium and platinum and all this other stuff that it doesn't need, and it can tolerate the radiation and everything, and just keep on growing. And it goes around it, and it harvests some phosphorus and calcium and whatever else it needs. So some copper, some selenium, whatever it needs. That's why mushrooms are good for you. They have trace minerals like selenium, strontium, all sorts of things. Uh, Pretty much everything you need, mineral wise, anyway. And they'll deposit some of these heavy metals that they don't need into this vein within the rock and keep on going and find out what they need. So, by accident, design, whatever, however they do it, they do it. They transport heavy metals from the environment that we're stepping in every day, breathing in, deep down into rocks in the earth, away from where we're away from water, away from air. They're cleaning our environment for us. Now, I'll some of you that are Star Trek fans know about the character Paul Stamets or Stamets. That's based on the real Paul Stamets, who's the fungi hero, if not demigod, if not deity. Deity is what my friends say. The character in Star Trek Discovery is based on it. that does the mycelium navigation throughout the universe. So, all that's based on science, by the way, real science. We get the science right. Now there's a bit of the woo, sure. I mean, it's science fiction so far. Attention, Smith, you there in the back? I see you. Wake up. All right. All right. Time and space. That's what you're majoring in. That's all you're taking in this class. Time and space. Rabbit trail. Hunt 'em up. You ever hear a hound dog on a rabbit trail? It's a beautiful thing. Have 3 or 4 going. So I mean, it just acts like it's killing them smelling this rabbit. You asked for me to go live. We're at the hour and a half mark. This is your fault. Hope you get feeling better. You listen to me, it's your own damn fault. Oh. What? KDKA fired Jeff Frizella a month ago. 1.5 hour notice. And at 1:30 out at 3. Holy. Told him they were moving in a different direction. Wow. He was there for 23 years. What? Wow. Crazy talk. 23 years. I mean, KDKA has built a reputation being kind of different. Wow. This just in. KDKA is an institution, by the way. For those of you that don't know, it's a Pittsburgh channel, but it was one of the first private, I think, well, that's the argument, the first privately owned radio network and the first television network, period, here in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Do you know that here in Pittsburgh? Yeah. Here in Pittsburgh. I got the list. Like, there's a lot of PA things. All right, talk amongst yourselves. Look out. Oh, going off the rails. What's he doing? Oh my God, where'd he go? He's off camera. What happened? It's okay. Nothing illegal. Nothing immoral or fattening. Well, might be fattening. All right, relax. I'm setting stuff up for my next bit. Go there and play in traffic. Leave me alone. Can't you see I'm working here? Ah! Really? All right, well, I'm kind of broadcasting live right now. Do you mind? Yeah. Yeah, well, I had my phone set on vibrate, so yeah. Yeah, check it out. Storytime with Uncle Goat, like on YouTube right now, live. Yep. All right, see ya. Yeah. All right, yeah. Bye. Yeah, I texted you. That's why I texted you. I didn't text you saying, call me. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh. Well, here's another one of my works. This is Midnight at the Oasis. Wow, well, that's the inspiration for it. I believe I call it Moonrise at the Oasis. All these are sealed, two layers, one layer of sizing, and then an oil primer, and then good quality oil paints. I mean, the real deal. So, see if I can get a flattering light on this. Get the reflection right. Pardon me, moving the camera around. Get just a tiny bit of glare on the water. Let's see if I can get that right. The problem is, you know, light, shadow, the paint on the surface is three-dimensional. So you would have this mounted with a certain kind of light from a certain direction. It's great if you could do it on a north wall uh, with reflected natural light. So you don't have direct natural light, but you have natural light coming into the room, obviously during daytime. Uh, but yeah, gives you an idea. This is also 12 by 7. I'm selling this one for $90 as well. A 12 by 7.5, I believe. How to get old? Yeah, 7.5. It's actually like 12 and I think a quarter, 12 and an eighth. So just shy of 12 and a quarter. It's give you a little extra room so that you can do. Some of you were saying these are odd dimensions. Well, all right. So I make them so that you can a couple of things. All right. So you're like, why not 8 by 10? Like that's a standard picture size. Okay. Um, a lot of people would like to mat, a decent oil painting professionally, and the mat takes up a certain size. So with 7.5 inch, you can add a mat to it, um, and have a 10 by 14 frame, which is a standard size. So standard size frames can save you some money. Oh, maybe. Oh, I forgot. Man, that frame is heavy. That's the other reason why I just sell art. Right. So shipping frames is not so awesome for many reasons. One of them being, unless they're expensive, they have glass, and this is heavy. I'm not gonna. I mean, I don't have a scale around right here. My baby scales are back over at the farm, but this right here, I'm gonna say 9 pounds, maybe 10. And this is it's a great picture, by the way. It's got a little bit of water damage, but it's got some age on it. Just a random one I picked up, but it reminds me a bit of my grandmother. Because this is a young lady. This is a long time ago. This is a monochrome, like a black and white, kind of a sepia tone type photograph with hand painted color on it. And she's holding a nice little hand scythe. And I believe she's kind of tall. My grandmother was tall, like 5'10". I don't know. She was tall. Got a picture of her. Like I'm well over 6'2" in that photograph before my bones shrink up from you know, from all the surgeries. So this is a one like standard size. This is like 11 by 17. All right, so like 10 by 14 is a picture frame size. That's a standard size. 11 by 17 is a standard size. 8 by 10, 3 by 5, 4 by 6, 5 by 7, 8 by 10, 10 by 14, 11 by 17, uh, 18 by 36, poster size, et cetera, et cetera. So you can take a 7.5 inch by 12, put a mat on it, and it works well in a 10 by 14 frame. Ah, with a mat on it. So this thing's heavy. All right, maybe about 12 pounds. I don't know. Knock anything over? So the whole reason why canvas came about as a thing anyway, used to all artists painted on panels, just straight wood panels, often about a 1/4 inch thick. As these panels get bigger, they obviously get heavier, and as they get bigger, you have to have thicker panels so that they don't warp when it's just regular wood. And it also gets more expensive because you have to have bigger trees to get a panel out of them. Back in the day, like in the days of Leonardo da Vinci, we'll say. The Mona Lisa is painted on one piece of poplar, about just under a 1/2 inch thick, right about 3/8 is probably a 1/2 inch when it was cut and first initially dried um, 500 years ago. By the way, that's a multimedia or mixed media. If you didn't know that, that's egg tempura with oil paint over top of it. Little tidbit for you. So what I'm getting at is you can disassemble a frame, pack the glass separately if it's glass. You're way better off especially if you've got $1,000 painting. You're way better off getting one of the anti-glare Lexan products. It also has quite a bit of UV protection built into the Lexan, so that your children, of course, hey, if you're dead and gone, who cares? It's their problem, right? But the Lexan will yellow over time, which you're like, oh, that's bad. No, it's like your corneas in your lenses. Basically, the cornea does the same thing. It interacts with UV light and it yellows over time, but that UV light does not attack the paint underneath. So over the course of 30 or 40 years, it will yellow, but the paint underneath will be as fresh as a daisy. That's a daisy. So you can pack the Lexan separately or with it. One of the great things about one of these is you do not have to cover this. You do not have to have glass. And with some of the thicker paint, glass is actually not preferred. With the vibrations and everything, the glass will hit the paint and deform the paint. So, all right. So, that's part of the pitch of my art. Why paint on panels? Well, So canvas was brought out because it's lighter, it's cheaper, and it's about as durable. So when you get to a size like this size behind me and larger, when you get to be like 3 feet by 5 feet, that's kind of the tipping point. And at that size, a quarter inch thick, a 3 foot by 5 foot canvas weighs about the same as, say, a lightweight, medium weight wood like a poplar or birch. Birch was real popular. Poplar. Birch was popular back then. Poplar was popular too. The Mona Lisa's on her. Right. Rabbit tail number 28. There goes a rabbit. So, uh, it's me. It's your damn fault. So, I'm going to tour around, do my show, do my thing, uh, do my reality show about a show. And of course, I'm going to sell my art. I'm not giving up on that. Those of you that think that he sure is bouncing around a lot. No, I'm a painter. I paint. I'm going to paint until I can't hold the brush anymore. When I can't hold the brush anymore, I'm going to hire somebody to duct tape the brush in my hand. Be like Renoir. Look it up. When my Uncle Arthur gets so bad I can't move my hands, can't my fingers don't work, I'll have somebody duct tape a brush in my claw. Keep on, keep it on. So yeah, so a 3 by 5 canvas weighs about, I mean, pretty close to the same as a quarter-inch panel, like a birch plywood panel. Uh, that's birch plywood is good, no doubt. The furniture grade, uh, that's good. Uh, as far as the quality of the painting, there's no difference between an MDF quality painting and a birch, not at all. One could argue that because of the multi-direction nature of the chips and the particles in the MDF, uh, that the MDF is more dimensionally stable in every direction in thickness, length, and width, etc., than the plywood is. Uh, Especially once you get it sized up. With I use a neutralized, like a bookbinder's glue. Um, it's like Elmer's glue, only it's been pH neutralized to 7, so it doesn't interact at all with the MDF or the paint above it. And the sizing, the glue paint or milk paint is what it basically is, will not yellow uh, over time. Well, eventually over centuries, but in a lifetime, like 60, 70 years. So the Mona Lisa is oil paint on tempera on milk paint. So the poplar board is sized front, sides, and back with milk paint. Thought you might want to know that. Then uh, I believe a thin coating of rabbit skin glue, which is like hide glue, like the furniture makers use. Um, he did not use marble dust on the Mona Lisa. I don't believe. I mean, he's crafty. He may they just haven't detected it yet. They're not going to scratch off any paint to find out. So anyway, yeah. So it's poplar, milk paint, rabbit skin glue, then egg tempera. There may be a charcoal and chalk sketch on top of um, the rabbit skin glue, on top of the the Okay, so the original gesso is rabbit skin glue and marble dust. The gesso that they make now, like the stuff you see Bob Ross talking about, a lot of, for you folks that don't know anything about art, I'll clue you in a little bit. So that's just acrylic paint. That's just the latex paint that you paint your house with inside. That's what gesso is. That's just plastic. It dries up into a plastic film, latex, plastic, polymer. You know, not necessarily a bad thing, but it we're not sure on the life expectancy of that particular type of polymer. We know there's some latexes and acrylic blends that are good to about 60 years for sure. Um, you know, they're synthetics, so we're not, we don't have enough history yet to truly know. We have some ideas, there's some science. So anyway, that's why oil painting is still a premium to acrylic paints, and it probably should be. I mean, there are a lot of reasons. Um, because of the linseed oil, acrylic is more luminous. I've been spotlighting you guys for a while, huh? So the light goes actually into the paint pigment media. Let's try it again. It goes into the media that holds the pigment. So in acrylic paint, the pigment is the same. If it's lapis lazuli, ultramarine blue, sorry, I'll try not to go on another rabbit trail. If it's real ultramarine blue made with lapis lazuli, a rare mineral found in Afghanistan, yeah, we've been taking stuff out of Afghanistan for thousands of years and fighting over it. The pigment is the same. It's ground up rock dust. The media that holds it, the goop that holds it together, the glue that binds it, the binder, the paint part of paint that doesn't have the color, the acrylic, the media, the polymer that holds it all together, that allows it to go from a liquid to a solid. That part of the paint, that serum, just like your blood has solids and serum. Put it in a centrifuge, the solids come out. Right. So it's an acrylic polymer. It's a synthetic, from petroleum products. Latex is a synthetic latex. Synthetic latex. There are real latex paints made with uh, latex rubber from the rubber tree plants. That's kind of a whole different thing. Yeah, natural latex rubber. All right. And that stuff doesn't last forever. Oil based paint is linseed oil with a few solvents. I mean, I try to use the natural solvents. There is a synthetic terpenoid, which is basically turpentine synthesized without the really nasty terpenes that'll give you brain damage or more brain damage in my case. All's in court. All's in court. Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge. Stop eating that fudge. Here comes the judge. Should not be allowed in public. Just imagine actually have somebody to talk with that got some sense. All right, so linseed oil and other solvents. The linseed oil dries up. Um, well, it is a polymer. It is a natural polymer. Linseed oil is also a dietary supplement. It contains fatty acids, which are quite healthy for you. Now, I'm not giving medical advice or anything, but it has, the reason why flaxseed, which is the same thing, linseed and flaxseed, lemon is made from flaxseed, linseed oil, it's the same, all the same stuff. Specialty cereals and additives made from linseed oil. Uh, There's food grade linseed oil. Flaxseed is, it's food for animals and humans, and it contains omega-3, omega-6, and there are some breeds, some cultivars of flax which have omega-9 fatty acids. There's a little information for you. Go look that up. Go ahead, fact check me. You may think I'm wrong, but if you go to the Google, I'm not an old fart at all. Just type that up over there on the Google, would you? Get them fingers in there and type that up on the Google. Hey, look at me when I talk to you. Look at that screen. I'm not old, but I'm getting there. I'm in my prime. what I meant to say, if you're an actual scientist and go to the academic part of Google, I'll just shut up. There's academic studies out there, bona fide peer reviewed studies about certain strains of linseed that this plant, the flax plant, that have multiple renditions of the omega fatty acids that are quite good for you. Now you can overdo some of them, but yeah. So anyway, so linseed oil. It is the oil itself has a luminosity. My tongue is numb. Luminosity. It has a luminosity um, gradient, um, just like whether we're talking about crushed marble or diamonds. There's a luminosity gradient. You shine certain spectrums of light on it. So the white color of um, oil paint when it dries is whiter than the white paint of acrylic when it dries, depending on the light source, the thickness of the paint, uh, the okay, the application thickness, like how much paint is on the board or canvas or the surface, affects the luminosity of the white paint or the blue paint, every color. Whereas once you get to the point of being opaque, um, that luminosity curve levels on acrylic paints or latex, house paint. Um, Whereas that curve continues on up. Science! Warning, warning, science content, science content. So the gradient of the luminosity gradient continues upward to a higher net value. For those of you asleep in the back, Smith, hey, wake up! RIP headphone wearers. This is on right now, and some of you are watching it. I'm making cash. Can I get 3 hits? 4. Yeah, baby. A lot of reasons why old paint costs more money. It's good stuff. And we know, thanks to paintings like the Mona Lisa and older, the best preserved, by the way, the best preserved painting to date that we know of. You have an argument for the cave paintings in France, but anyway, the best preserved painting that has been out in the sunlight and all sorts of things, for certain, is Leonardo da Vinci's The Mona Lisa. It's 500 years old. Just let that roll through your head a little bit. How old are you? How old is your granddad? Or was your granddad? You know somebody 100 years old? You know someone that made it to 100 years old. What was going on 100 years ago? Well, 2019, World War One had just ended. There was no commercial flight anywhere in the world at all. None, zero. The Wright brothers had flown 15 years before, 16 years before, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. No such thing as a jet yet. I mean, a jet plane. Yeah. Charles Lindbergh had not crossed the Atlantic in an airplane yet. Many, many, many things. You know, the standard plane was a biplane with a rotary gasoline powered carbureted engine, perhaps supercharged if you knew the right people. Uh, yeah, there were no electrically powered airplanes. They were all manually controlled. No hydraulics, no pneumatics, no nothing. It was stick, wire, cable, lever. Wing warping was still a technology used. Just ailerons. They would actually, there were still planes that used wing warpings that warped the wing to change directions in flight, just like a bird does. Like will be featured in auction. See how smooth that transition was? I'm smooth. It's almost bust my tooth out. I'm so smart. Yeah. So 500 years. Can I get 5 hits, please? 500 years ago. And he took somewhere in the range of 40 years to paint that painting. One could argue it's not finished, actually. He just died. And his lover had it, sold it, after he toured it around. Leonardo da Vinci proved that art is also science, at the very least math, which is an alien damn language. It's worse than science. Or as the British say, maths. I have an advanced degree in theoretical maths from Oxford and Cambridge. When some of the stuff I say, in the wrong context, could be used justifiably to lock my ass up. I think we need to change his medication. Good, good. Neither manic nor depressive. Still feel a little pain every now and then. That's how you know you're alive. after a certain point. Yeah, not today, Daddy, not today. Ah, that's another one. I need to see old Humpy, old Humphammer, Jerry Humphammer Neely. No relation. Yeah, maybe just way back there in Ireland, Scotland. So, yeah, not today, Daddy, not today. I might fall down and never get up again, but not today. Not today. Got her dead. Yep, 500 years ago. So he painted this Mona Lisa over the course of 30 plus years, anyway. And what a genius. Like, he's three or four geniuses rolled into one. He studied the human eye and understood that there are both rods and cones in the human eye, and understood at some level, it's hard for us to say in our modern age what level he understood this. He understood that there was color and black and white vision going on there. Grayscale, blue, green, blue, gray, green scale going on. This differentiation with the rods in your eye, and those are concentrated around the edges. There are variables from person to person, eye to eye. But generally speaking, some people have more rods and cones total, higher concentration of cones in certain places. But anyway, everybody has a higher concentration of cones, which are the color sensing part of the organ, in the center of the eye, in the center of the retina. Then in the very center is where your blind spot is. You didn't know you had a blind spot where the nerve actually enters the retina. Some animals that is offset, um, or there's all sorts of configurations within eyeballs. Anyway, so you have in the center of your vision where the nerve connects, the optic nerve, and there are no vision collecting instruments at this point. This just collects the signal. And then the cones start around that. Then around that are the rods in general. And the line between the rods and the cones is not like all cones stop here and all the rods start here. And the line is kind of wavy. And in some, there's some variance. Some people have a few cones that hang out here a little further. And some people have some rods that hang over into the cones area. Some people have some rods pretty deep in toward the center. Interestingly enough, and that can vary from eye to eye. Your left eye and right eye may be different. There's some interesting things about the human eye. Well, about eyes in general. This critter behind me, the owl, their eyes are not circular; they're cylindrical in shape. They have such big eyes crammed into a small skull instead of being round like ours. They're like squeezed like this, so they can have basically a bigger diameter binocular vision that's just amazing. Uh, at close range, 6 times better than human vision by the lowest metric that we know how to measure. 6 times human vision. And for motion and some of it is unbelievable. Motion detection is it's hard for us to measure how well their vision picks up motion. That's how good it is. I mean, we have stuff that measures in picoseconds, nanoseconds, picoseconds. Unbelievable. So, Leonardo da Vinci knew about these rods and cones. The Mona Lisa has two different color paint schemes, one in black and white and one in color. And the Mona Lisa smile is part of the sfumato, smoke in Italian, or fume. Fumigation comes from the same words. Fume, S-F-U-M-E, sfumato. The fume, no fumar, no smoking. The smoke. He does these little layers. It's unbelievable. So anyway, so he does a black and white shadow that is a smile, but the color is like a flat straight line. So the color of her on her lips, red, green, blue, right? So that spectrum of light is flat. The black and white is a smile. So at the center of your vision, when you're concentrating, so the center of your vision, you're concentrating on her mouth. And the way your eye works, it only focuses on something not much larger than your eye, perhaps about the size of a human mouth. That's about all. Something the size of a silver dollar, that sort of size. Like that's too big. So as you're focused in, you miss out on this here as far as color goes. Now you still see color. It's just not as crisp. Okay, you still see all the color. The color is correct. In other words, like the numbers assigned on a television, like the screen you're watching now. There's a red, green, blue number designation for digital color. That's that exact color. Your eye still sees that color out here. Your brain interprets it, still sees it with the color cones in the center. Okay. So some of that color information is coming in at an angle, and your brain assembles that information back here in your visual cortex. Um, did I break into science again? Okay. Pay attention, Smith. Smith! So you're centered on this, on Mona Lisa's mouth. You see the color. Out here, the definition of the light versus shadow, the black and white spectrum, the grayscale, gives you the sense of depth past her head, the stuff that's going on in the background, and your mind interprets black and white as those parts of the color spectrum. Um, the black and white sensing part of the rods in your eye, that information gets translated within your visual cortex in your brain as light and shadow and as movement. So you you can track movement with your peripheral vision. If something here, you know, if you see something, just see if I hold that still. Look at me here in the middle. All right. Now look at my mouth. Look at my finger. All right. Now out of the corner of your eye, if I hold this still, it's still there, but it's not moving. If I move it, I mean, it jumps at you. Right. So you're not necessarily seeing that the color of this little stick in is, ivory white, little splotches of green, brown. You're not necessarily seeing that color, but you're definitely seeing that movement. You're seeing light and shadow. Uh, and then when your eyes switch to it, you see the color aspects, you see the detail in sharp contrast of the colors when your eyes focus on that area. So, what does that mean with the Mona Lisa? Why is he an exponential genius compared to most 99.9% of everyone who's ever lived? And I will say that. Like Elon Musk might be as smart as Leonardo da Vinci was. Maybe. Maybe. Let that sink in for a second. So, when you're looking at Mona Lisa's mouth, her eyes are well defined in the black and white part of your vision, but the color part is just there. It's not prominent and in sharp focus. If you look at her eye, all of a sudden the shadow of the mouth, you see the smile. As your sharp focus and color vision moves off of her mouth to her eye, just outside of that, you see the smile change from a flat line or even maybe just a slight frown to a smile, a smirk. And then your eye like goes back to like did her mouth just move? Like you're like, did her mouth just move? Really? Did I see that? No. And you look at it, you stare at it again. I'm gonna look at it with both eyes now. I'm trying real hard. Absolute genius. Some artists think that he should not have spent so much time on science and exploring anatomy, monkeying around with flying machines. And he wasn't just an artist. He wasn't just a scientist. He wasn't just an engineer. He wasn't just an inventor. He was all of that. And he was so good at it that not only did he have this anatomical knowledge, not only did he understand what that meant for art, he had the artistic talent to pull it off. And 500 years later, it's still the greatest painting of all time. Just let that soak into your brain for a second. We've had 500 years of new technology, new ways of learning, better nutrition, amazing, amazing universities. All of this at our disposal since. All right, so when the World Wide Web go live, 1994, we've had virtually unlimited access to the world's knowledge in pictures and video. Like I was on the internet in 1989 when it was text only before www existed. You had to know where you were going. All the computer geeks, like we were talking with, um, all the computer geeks carried around notebooks and pads and stuff with HTTP addresses written down with actual IP, like HTTPS, dot dot, colon backslash backslash. Like you had to know where you were going, like so dot edu whatever, dot gov. You had to know where you were going. I mean, there were no search engines. That was a new thing. There were these programs you could write, um, called spiders, right? So all this technology that so many people take for granted now, mass-produced printed books in Europe were unknown in the time of Leonardo da Vinci, and at that time, he produced the best painting of all time. He was a bastard son, not allowed to have a proper education because of his social standing. He was the illegitimate child of a local noble. That's why his last name is Da Vinci. He is of Vinci, the town in Italy. That's not his last name. His father's name was not Da Vinci. His father's name was not Vinci. No, no. He was not even allowed to have the last name of his father. He is an illegitimate child, not allowed to have the finest education. He entered into a series actually of internships. Anyway, and that guy on his own illegally against church doctrine dissected cadavers so he could figure out how the human eye worked, how the human body was put together so he could better draw it, so he could better paint it, and so that he could understand better how the mind and the eye worked that took in this information from the art that he was creating. That guy, 500 years ago, painted the greatest painting of all time. That guy. So people ask, so what do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, I know that sounds like hubris, but what do I want to be? I want to be Leonardo da Vinci of, you know, 21st century, but I mean, I don't think I can pull that off. So I'm just going to be me, and we'll see where that takes us. So tune in next time. Team Modcast, TMODCAST. Do a search on YouTube, on Google. TMOD stands for The Master of Disaster. It's a nickname I've been working on since about age 15 or so. If you know me, you know it fits. GOAT stands for the greatest of all time, or greatest of all time. Got started with the whole farm thing, and it grew from there. It was Goat Herder for a while, or GH to my friends. Then it just became Goat. It became a thing on its own. There were probably 1,000 people that knew me as Goat that did not have any clue that I had a farm with a bunch of goats on them. So whatever. And then I, go to school and go back to school and have all these college age young people, these millennials, I guess everybody calls them. These young folks, these teenagers and 20 somethings, and some of them started calling me Uncle Goat. I think it's all right. I'm good with that. So here we are. Here we be. I didn't answer all your chat questions. Sorry. I perhaps I'll get to them in the description below. Um, one of the things we're here to do is to introduce my 420 gauge. Isn't that lovely? Look at that roll. Look at that crimp. These hands, like a doctor. That's what part why I'm wearing the sweatshirt. What's that, Doc? Operate like a doctor. Shout out to Joey Coco Diaz. He's a man. And shout out to my buddy Robert Stenhammer out of Telluride, Colorado. Ah, 970-708-7771. Thank you very much. I think that's his office number. If it's his cell number, he's going to kill me. Oh, well. If business picks up on that cell phone, I guess you'll have to get another cell phone for your private number. Sorry. You should have been specific. Stenhammer. Robert Stenhammer, Telluride, Colorado. Love you, brother. Can't wait till we spend a little time together out there. Gonna be great. Legendary. Yeah, story time with Uncle Goat. It's the idea. I'd like to do my own streaming service. I think I would call it Hookah Hoop. Trademark, Hookah Hoop. I think I mentioned that on Twitter. Yeah. Okay, yeah. While we're being ambitious. Smith, sit up straight. Pay attention. Might have to have a little supper here. I'll do some cooking with Uncle Goat here. Again, cooking with Goat. I'm doing my vegan meat substitute. Pretty good. It's a handmade uh, vegetable mix. Uh, totally vegan, pretty good stuff. I'm not going vegan. I'm just exploring some of the possibilities here. I might be a day or two that I don't eat meat, but I just don't see me giving it up. I just that's going to be a tough one. I'm a true omnivore. Truly, absolutely. Clock on the wall. Almost 9:30. 9:24. I actually do have a clock on the wall. That's the thing that's going by the wayside, eh? Clocks, wristwatches. Yeah, I know. Man, you know, something to be said about a bomb-proof watch, and it doesn't require, Wi-Fi or a cellular network, or something that just keeps time. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, so maybe someday in the not too distant future, you'll see my handsome and smiling face on Netflix or Amazon or some other streaming platform. And here in the very near future, we're going to have T Modcast on pretty much every podcast platform. Platform. Podcast platform. Say that 3 times fast with a mouthful of rocks. Platform. I'm fluent in mumble, 7 different languages. So story time. Uncle Goat. We'll do another quick story here. All right, I'll get out of here another 10 minutes or less, maybe half an hour. All right, so I was with my uncle, and we were Ken. We were at. I've told this story. I'll keep it fresh. So we're in line, some amusement park. I can't remember if it was Kings Island or something like that. Maybe it was. I don't know. Whatever. We'll say I was 13 or 14, maybe. I don't know. A young teenager, and Ken was. We're in line for a ride, and there was an Asian couple in front of us. I believe, pretty sure they were Chinese. Thinking back, I'm pretty sure they were speaking Mandarin. I could go on about how I'm fairly certain it's Mandarin. Now I'm certain of it. Then I'm not sure I can tell you. Looking back. So anyway, the wife is just giving him the business. There's like husband, wife, 3 or 4 kids. I don't recall how many children, but 3 or more. He's 40ish, 45 maybe. No idea. Her age, maybe she's in her late 30s. Maybe I don't know. She looked like she might be a little younger than him, but maybe she's just holding up better. She just giving him business, and pardon me if you find this insulting. I'm going to do what my like hillbilly East Tennessee, redneck ears heard at like age 12. This is what I heard as someone who didn't exactly run into Asian, foreign language, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, etc. back at 12. I mean, she was giving him the business, shaking her fingers, just tearing him up. And it was like, in some ways, to my ear, it was like almost I was going to a livestock auction. 13.75, can you 14? Sold $14.25. The gentleman over here in the red coat, everybody knows who he is. Thank you very much. Next we have a heifer. It's 106 pounds on the scale. 14. Sell them by the hundredweight, whatever. But like the Asian Chinese version of that. I mean, she's waving her finger, and I mean, just tearing him up. He's kind of looking at her, kind of not. And just as she like stops and kind of half turns to walk away, he goes, "Huh?" Huh? And Ken turns around to me, Jeanette. He says, "Hey, look, I speak Chinese. What's this?" Huh? So I think that's universal, like husband language. Dad speak. Huh? That poor guy. I mean, he no doubt had to go somewhere else in his head at times when she was going, just pounding on his skull with her words. I don't know what she was saying. Okay. I'm not making fun of her or him. I swear. I'm just trying to be real here, folks. It's what it sounded like to me as a 12-year-old kid from Tennessee to not speak their language. It was just brutal. I'm sure if I understood it, it was just as brutal. I have no doubt. I don't know what she was saying, but I know how she was saying it. I have heard that tone, not just from my wife either. I heard that tone from my grandmother, my aunts, girlfriends, cousins, nieces. Some strangers on the street. I've heard that tone, not just from women. So I have an idea what she was saying, what she meant. And her feet were killing her, and she's going to go sit down. And whose idea was this? Do you know how hot it is? The children are dehydrated. You're a bad father. Of course, he responded in the universal dad speak with, huh? Ha! Shout out to Billy Coombs. He's good for that one. Huh? Yes! Love you, Bill. Huh? You know what I mean? Oh, too much fun. We got to make the circuit here. Uh, by the way, I'm not necessarily inviting all y'all along with the story time with Uncle Goat T Modcast Roadshow. I mean, there maybe there's a time and a place for that. I mean, we could definitely do something. We'll see. Sure, I'd certainly like to have a couple of you, but I mean, this is business. I'm actually doing this. You know, I mean, I'm sure you guys will have some interesting stuff to contribute. So that's the story about dad speak, husband speak. It's the universal grumble, mumble, humble language of the husband and father. When the wife is just beaten, when your significant other has just beaten your eardrums together, smashed your brain, you're kind of staring off into space. Huh? Well, you heard it. You could not hear it. Ah, huh? I speak Chinese. Man, Ken went around for a week saying that. Huh? I speak Chinese. Mandarin, even, apparently. Good stuff. I mean, it's genetic. I come by the goofiness, honest. I mean, everything else, that's on me. But, I mean, uh, Papa, my grandfather, Nolan Gray Neely, used to tell me stories, little bits and pieces about his dad and how goofy his dad was. You tell me a little bit about how mean he was, and I've heard some of those stories too. Turd, where'd that come in? Somebody just shit in the middle of this podcast. What are you people doing? Turd? How they drop a turd in? I can't pick that up by the clean end. What the hell? My granddad told me he didn't turd me about anything. I don't think. Holy. So yeah, like he told me that if his dad Fuller Fuller E Neely, if Fuller his dad uh, heard someone say something a certain way or would make a sound, or if an animal or bird made a certain noise, he would kill himself trying to imitate, to ape that sound. Whether it's like a whether the stupidest, goofiest, whatever, like the Daffy Duck, whatever. I mean, he would just squirrel barking here, all that. So apparently it's genetic. That's what I'm saying. I come by this honest. Fuller E. Neely would be my great grandfather. When I was about, let's see, 15, my great grandmother, Laverna Jones Neely, amazing lady. She's not doing so well, and she's in a bit of a delirium. She comes out of it. She's in the hospital. I'm staying the night with her. Do the night shift thing a lot, and at one point she focuses back in on me. Now, like I say, I'm 15. Obviously, don't have, well, maybe not so obviously here again if you know me. Started shaving when I was like 11. So 1982 at the football banquet, somebody said I was helping out with the food. So say you talked to Chris about one of the awards or something they were giving us for the winning the championship, and they said, "Which one's Chris Neely?" Yeah. Said he's the kid over there with a 5 o'clock shadow helping out with the food. I was about 5'8", 145, 150 pounds. I was 11. And like in shape, 145 pounds, like ripped. Yeah. So 15 years old. Um, my great grandmother is quite ill, and they'd taken her off some medicine, put her back on some other stuff. She had gone through withdrawal from Demerol. I mean, they were just messing with her, and I mean, we were upset to say the least. That's another story. She'd had a tough life. back broken how many times? Wreck in 1945. I think her car was hit by a gravel truck. She spent 11 months out of the next year in a body cast. That's how they did it in 1945, 46. She would go in the cast for like 2 months at a time. They'd cut the cast open, treat basically bed sores. Yeah, tough lady. Now, fast forward, I'm 15. She's like 90 years old. She's still pretty tough. Still has a tough mind, too. She's like 87 years old. And she looks at me. It's like 3 in the morning or something. She's like up on one elbow. She had told me some stuff, not like that wasn't the first day, but she told me some stuff about her husband, my great grandfather, Fuller. I mean, hey, he was a bit of a scoundrel, a scamp, a rogue. Uh, you know, he had some women on the side. You know, he was a drunk. I mean, you know, he was a gambler. He was a card player. He won a chunk of property in a card game once. He won a bottom land full of cedar that he furnished the inside of the whole house with. That my granddad grew up in a card game. Yeah, he traded a guy for parts of his sawmill for parts for his sawmill that needed some booze. An old Alky, and he had some mechanical aptitude and some supplies. And the old Alky traded him all this stuff for his sawmill for like 6 squirrel skins. He took those squirrel skins to the fur trader in town. He got cash for it so he could get some booze because he had the shakes. Well, he knew that Alky with the shakes because that was one of his buddies. So my great grandmother's laying in this bed, and I mean she's in a bad way. She's hurting. She's going through withdrawal. And they're putting on her another medication. They gave her some fake meds. One of those shots. That's a great. If they gave her straight sterile water, apparently I had nothing to do with that. I got a hold of the doctor's lapels the following morning. That was a scene. So anyway, that was not the first time I was almost kicked out of a hospital. And it wasn't the last. Ah, not even close. So, yeah, I was upset about that a little bit. She's like, they call them mistresses. Anyway, so he was smooth, apparently. I mean, he was a smooth talker. Shuck and jive, as they said back in the day. Shucking and a jiving. That's him. So he had, I never met the guy. He passed away before I was born. And apparently, I've got a lot in common with the fella. She pointed her finger at, like, she got up on an elbow to better look at me and point at me. And I'm telling you, she knew who I was right then. I mean, she wasn't in any sort of real, any delirium or dementia wasn't taking her. I mean, she was with it. She pointed at me like it hurt, like, you're like that kind of point. You're like, ugh, you're like dodging it, like you're dropping a shoulder, getting ready to counter punch. She's going to bring the jab in and come in with overhand right. It's that kind of point. Yeah. So I got some of those genetics there too, no doubt. And uh, she was talking, and I'm not going to tell you everything she said because so that's private. She pointed at me with one of those points. She's like, she has my attention. This is one of the reasons why I have a problem with someone saying mansplaining, because my great grandmother, kind, sweet, tender woman, but someone that can get a hold of you and grab your attention if she needs to. She explained to me in a voice, a tone, and in a manner that some people say is mansplaining. All right, now this is a woman all day, all night for 80, whatever years, 90 years. And she put something on me and explained something to me, explained it. And hopefully, as long as I live, I'll never forget it. So funny. And, well, you'll see how true it is. She pointed at me. His name, Fuller Neely. Now, all men are full of shit. This is my great girl. I'm 15. She's 87, I think, or 88 at the time. This is what she said. All men are full of shit. Like, it's this little old lady in bed up on one elbow. All men are full of shit. He was fuller than others. I laugh. She laughs. Then she points at me again. And you're just like him. I was 15. She explained something to me, and she was not wrong. Not at all. Bingo. Ah. And you're just like him. All men are full of shit. And he was fuller than most. Thus the name, Fuller Neely. And you're just like him. Did she have my number or what? Oh, 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 man. Oh. I turned my phone completely off, by the way, so if anybody tried to text me or call me after that phone call. So, just so you know, if you've tried in the past, whatever that is, hour and change, hour and a half. So, yeah, I come by it honest. The storytelling, the goofiness, the flirtiness, the just plain old full of shit. I mean, it starts at the DNA level, all right? So I gotta believe I got a reality show in me here somewhere. I do believe it. Somebody following me around with a camera could probably piece together a decent reality show. That's without the podcast. I think the two will feed off each other rather well. So, oh, I hope I haven't offended too many people. If I have offended you, you're probably a little too sensitive. Probably need to meditate a little more and not worry about things so much. Know that I love you, and you should love yourself, and you should love everybody you come in contact with. You should forgive your enemies, and most particularly, you should forgive your friends because they love you, and you should love them ever so more. And remember, your friends are family too. I'm going to sign off here, and I know, I know, I'm taking almost 3 hours of your time. I mean, listen to me, it's your own damn fault. You heard what Ma had to say. Ma Neely, how many decades ago? See here, that was 1987. Almost 16 years old. I believe it was in February. She got sick around this time of year, just after the holidays, middle of January. Yep, yep. Oh, Ma Laverna. I never called her that. I knew that was her name. Ma. She was my grandfather, Papa, Nolan Gray Neely. That was his mom. Okay, yeah, before the 3 hour mark, I got time for another quick story. It's like 9 minutes till 10 o'clock. So we were at my Aunt Marie. So Ma lived with Aunt Marie, my granddad's youngest sister, for many, many years, a couple of decades. Marie Neely Walls is a saint of a woman. She's still alive at the telling of this story, like several of my aunts, Aunt Linda, my great aunts, my grandfather's kin sisters. My grandmother's kin is alive as well, too. Lucy, yeah, Lou. So we were at Aunt Marie's house, and in the kitchen, for whatever reason, I don't know whose idea this was. Four of four of my female relatives were in there cooking something, a couple of different things. I don't know how this came about. I believe it was okay. So in that room, let's just go there. There's five of them. I I don't know that Linda was actively cooking. I think that's when she messed her ankle up. So I think she was sitting in a chair just talking, just chatting with everybody. And Aunt Velma was in there. So, so all right. So my grandmother, Aunt Marie, Aunt Velma, Aunt Linda, and my great grandmother, Ma Neely, were all in Marie's kitchen. Linda was sitting down most of the time that I saw. Like I said, I believe she had messed her ankle up, if memory serves. Ma was in the wheelchair, but she was moving around a lot. And I mean, this woman, tough is not. Oh my God, the stuff that she's gone through. To see her walk around uh, with crutches, and she's not a small woman. I mean, she wasn't like morbidly obese or anything, but I mean, she wasn't tiny. She was a large frame person. I mean, not small, and she had some muscle, a little fat, but not nothing like a lot of people today. And to know what it takes to move around on those crutches and how painful that is, yeah, I don't care how much Demerol and you're still feeling those bones rub together. Ask me how I know. So the four of them are actively cooking, and like like Ma is doing some stuff in a dish, like she's stirring some stuff up. Well, she might have stirred up a lot of stuff. She could be a troublemaker too. She had a glint in her eye at times, a little mischievous, a little mischievous streak as well. So I don't know if you know how particularly Southern women can be about the kitchen. Yeah, my grandmother. Oh my God. I mean, you might wind up with a knife in you if you're in her kitchen at the wrong time. Blood could be spilled, and it's going to be yours. Like, get out of the way. Oh, you may know what you're doing. You ain't doing it here. Not without written permission. So there's a little bit of tension in this kitchen. So Marie, Aunt Velma, my granddad's other, she's the older sister. Marie and Linda are younger than my grandfather. Not like she's a lot older. We had a lot of the family there. I was maybe, I don't know, 12 or 13 perhaps. Certainly no older than that. And a bunch of the men were on the back porch talking, and uh, like several of my cousins were there. Like my first cousins, April and Angie, uh, my aunt and uncle Ken and Jeanette were there. I mean, a lot going on, a whole lot going on. Like 15 cars there from all points of family. And, a couple of Velma's kids, kids. I mean, they were older than me. Velma's part of the family, and I think her husband was actually Templeton. Anyway, so Velma Templeton, your husband, he was out on the back porch having a cigarette, I think, and a bunch of the men were on the back porch and in the backyard. In the backyard, the kids were playing and all good stuff. And for some reason, I remember whatever reason, my uncle goes into the kitchen for a second. He says something, question or whatever. It's one of those days where the screen door is closed with the doors open, and vents fans going in the kitchen, letting some of the heat out of the kitchen, and it's a hot day. Uh, he's in there and he asks the question something about this or that, or oh, that smells good. And my granddad just goes in there. You see, like hand coming up, ground on his shoulder. So Papa grabbed Uncle Ken. It's like he looks at him and he doesn't say anything, not a word. Comes back through the door. Door closes. He whispered something in Ken's ear. Ken goes, "Oh, okay." I don't know exactly what he said. Okay, do not know. I caught a bit of it, and basically he's like, "You do not want to be in there. You certainly don't want to stir up any trouble." Like those four women in there will rip you apart. Five if you count the one that can't stand up. or the two perhaps that can't stand up. You're like Mad Max in her Thunderdome. And King got this look on his face like, oh my God, I could have died. What was I thinking? But yeah, a couple of other husbands and fathers and out there on the back porch saw this as well. A couple of them like just nodding. I think old Jimmy Walls looked over and said, "Huh? Y'all have a good night. God bless. We'll see you." Oh, uh, I am getting sold. Been a good day. Somewhere's in here. I'm figuring out how to turn this thing off. Is that it? Nope. 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 Nope.